Hi everyone, this is Captain Bezalel and he's my Minecraft character, and we're going to use his help today to show you how to build the tent of meeting that the Israelites used in the wilderness in Minecraft. You can find this bit for yourself. It's in Exodus and it's chapters 25, 26, 27 and through to 28. So let's get to it. So you're going to need to start by choosing yourself a place to build this. I've chosen the desert because it's the wilderness with some mountains to remind me of Mount Sinai. And one of the amazing things about this project in the Bible was that it wasn't just one person making it. The whole community got together and they all brought stuff to help with making it. So I've represented that here in this chest. And you can see here what we're going to need as well. So there's acacia wood, but actually lots of the acacia wood is overlaid with gold to make it look even more shiny. We're going to need silver blocks for the bases, goat hair for part of the tent, and then white linen. So obviously I've renamed some of these blocks, but you should be able to work out what they are. Some acacia fence for poles, some more gold, and then I've renamed these as the different types of skins that they used. And then we're going to need some wool and some other decoration blocks, which I'll show you shortly. We're going to start by finishing the courtyard. So we're going to need the white linen and the fence posts. And this is the area that we've cleared out for the courtyard. I've covered it in torches because for some reason I don't build in peaceful mode, as you can see by the pillagers. And one of the first things you're going to need to do is work out which direction is east and which direction is west. So the east end of the courtyard is where the entrance is going to be, where those pillagers are rampaging around. And the west end is where the sun's setting. That's going to be where we're going to start the tent from. So I'm just going to finish off. You can see I've started doing this because actually this is one of the longest processes. So I'd already started doing this. I've done half of it. And we're going to continue just finishing off this courtyard so that you can just see how I did it. Really simple with the 2 blocks of white wool, or white linen as we're calling it, with the fence posts in between. And I started in the corners with these acacia wood poles, and the acacia wood poles we're going to have a distance between them of the short sides are going to be 23 blocks between, and the long sides are 46 blocks between. So you're going to need quite a large area cleared out, and that's just representing meters. So the Bible actually gives the measurements in cubits, and we've had to, not me, someone else has worked out how far that is in meters. And in Minecraft we use 1 block to represent 1 meter. So it's 23 meters by 46 meters. So just going to finish off this side because this is the last side that we need to finish off. I'll do it as quick as I can. So just put in the last few panels. It's a little bit fiddly getting the fence post lined up. Put in the wool bits. And this was just kind of separating off so that they could see that that this was the special place. So this would have been right in the middle of the camp. So at some point we're going to have to build the entire of a campsite around it. But this was the middle part, the focus of all of their life was this place where they could meet with God. So that's all finished up. And you can see it goes all the way around. And then on this side, on the east side, we've just done 2 sections and then left this middle block free, which is going to be for the entranceway. So we're going to start work on the tent now, and so we're going to get the rest of our stuff that we need for that. We can move those out of our inventory because we don't need them anymore. And for this bit, we're going to need the silver blocks, which are the bases, and we need those gold frame, the acacia frames overlaid with gold. And to find the starting point, we're going to head over to the west end, right at the middle point of the west end. And we're going to count in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 blocks. And we're going to start building from that 8th block there. So a gap of 7, and then start building. I won't kick that rabbit out of the way. It's moved by itself. And we're building this. This is the back wall of it, 7 silver blocks, and then we're going to come out 15 blocks forwards. So just up to 15, just there. And then we're going to do 15 on the other side. And these were the silver blocks, which were the bases of the panels that are going to go on top. And this one there. Great. So now we're going to put these gold panels on top. So these were acacia wood frames, as I've said, and they were overlaid with gold. And each of these tall sections is one section of this, so one frame. And so they were quite tall frames and quite narrow, less than a metre wide each frame. And they had kind of 2 little bits that stuck out to slot into the next one. So it was kind of like assembling a giant piece of Lego or a big IKEA furniture. And that was because the Israelites moved around a lot. And every time they would move around, they'd have to set up the tent of meeting all over again. And so this was, while it was amazingly beautiful and so detailed and well crafted, it was able to be taken down and moved around wherever they went. And that was just because they really wanted the presence of God going with them wherever they went. So they had built this in a way that it would be easy to build and take down again and again. So these are the gold frames just going in. The last few. Brilliant. And you can see that the front end is still open. That's because we're not going to fill that bit in yet. But what we're going to do now is just go round the outside with these acacia wood fences. And these are representing the poles. So not only did they kind of slot together, but then they had kind of rings on the back of them, which had poles slotted through to hold the whole thing together. So it would have made it much more stable. And they actually had more poles than this, but this is just to help represent that for us. So these are the poles that would have been slotted through the rings around the frame. I'm going to move on to the next stage now, and we're going to need our different coloured wools. So the red and the purple and the blue wool. And with these, what we're going to make is these curtains. And so these curtains were kind of formed in strips like we're making here. So about 2 meters wide, and I think it was about 13 meters long, going all the way. And so then they would have gone all the way up and over the frame to create this beautiful ceiling. And they would have been more patterned than this. I've just done it as the block colours to represent what colours were being used to make the patterns of the curtains. But so then each curtain would be sewn together to the next one. So this is just making kind of one large row of curtains. It was 2 large rows of curtains. So it's this one and then one more curtain in the first row, so that we have 5 sets of curtains tied together, so it doesn't get too heavy to carry around. And then I think this is the final one in this curtain. So these 5 curtains all joined together to make one big curtain. And then they had another 5 curtains joined together to make the second curtain, and they were joined together in this middle point by some gold rings and fastenings. So even like the finest details, like the bits that were used to fasten it together, they used the highest possible standards of work. It was really amazing what they did, the detail that it goes to. And we can't possibly show all that in Minecraft. But hopefully you get some kind of idea for how much detailed work goes into this. And you can see that we're kind of running out of space because that's only 3 for this section. And judging by the lengths of it in the Bible, I guess that it probably hung down the back, something like this. So it was covering up the gold frames on the back. So just finish that up and put the final bits of the curtain on here. Okay, so that's the beautiful inner curtains covering the frames to start with. And now, obviously, we can't leave it there because it was quite a harsh environment they were in, and so we're going to use this goat hair and the skins to make a covering to go over it, so that it protects the really beautiful kind of curtains that are on the inside. And there were actually 3 layers that went on top of it. So it was the goat's hair first, and then there were 2 layers of animal skins, so that it would have been super resistant to any kinds of weather, wind and storms and dust and anything. It was all protected and kept safe. Now, if we tried to do 3 more layers in Minecraft, that would get massive. So we're just going to represent it all as 1 layer right here. And because this is going to cover the whole of the tent, so these sections were longer and wider than the other bits, so that they could cover all the way over and make sure that there was nothing left peeking out where it could get ruined by the weather. So this bit actually takes one of the longest bits, so I've just sped it up a bit so that it doesn't take us too long. So here we go. So it's going to be a little bit jerky because I'm not the smoothest builder anyway, and so when I'm sped up you can see just how unsmooth I am. And it just takes a little while to cover all of this tent. And I think probably with the skins, they would have actually kind of stretched out a bit more diagonally rather than going straight down, just so that then they could be pegged out like you would do with a tent that you'd take camping, so that it would just be a bit stronger and a bit more resistant against the wind. But again, we can't quite show that in Minecraft. And this front bit, the Bible says that the curtain on the front bit is doubled over. So I think that was probably to give it the ability so that you kind of had an extra flap that you could drop down over the front to protect the entrance of the temple from sandstorms or dust storms or rain and that kind of thing. I'm just kind of using my imagination, trying to interpret what the Bible says about it. But that just kind of feels like it would be right. It's a pretty sensibly designed structure, so I can't imagine that they would have left any details like that not covered. And speaking of covering it, there we have it. We have completely covered the tent of meeting. Okay, now we're going to move on to the next stage, starting to put some details in it. So we're going to get the next bits that we need from our chest. We're going to bring in some light into the inside part and some more detailed bits. We're going to need some more gold, and I've actually just forgotten. So we're actually going to need an anvil, and we're also going to need a trapdoor, and this is to make some of the interior furniture. So, sorry, I forgot to put that on the original bit, but I'm sure you'll work it out. So on this side, about 5 blocks in from the entrance, we're going to build this is a 7-branched candle stand. Now, in real life, it would not have been this big, but this is just, it felt like an important detail to include, so I thought I'd include it even though it ends up having to be massive. So this is their 7-branched candle stand, which stood on that side in the tent. And directly opposite on the other side, there was a little table. So that's what the trapdoor's for. So just going to put the trapdoor on top of there. Nope. On there. Nope. Let's try again. There we go. And that was the table where the bread was kept. So they kept bread there, and that was kept on that table. And we're just going to put a bit of light in this section as well. This is going to be the innermost part, and 4 along. So this bit's 5 in. So there's 4 blocks, and then we're going to put these. And these are the acacia wood poles, which would hold the curtain in place. And that's going to separate this bit, which is the Holy of Holies, from the rest of the tent, which is the holy place. And we're going to do a bit more with that later. But right here, here's where we're going to use our anvil, because actually I think an anvil looks a bit like a hand washing bowl, or is the closest thing I could find. And we're actually going to name it that, even though it doesn't make any difference. I just thought it'd be fun if we showed what it was meant to be. So we're going to call this the hand washing bowl. So this would be where they would wash their hands before they came into the holy place. So we'll replace that one with this one. And we're actually going to use this as an anvil to rename a couple of these. So these look like gold. So we're kind of imagining we're doing what Bezalel did in the Old Testament, taking the gold that the people had made and crafting it into something beautiful. And so he crafted 2 cherubim, which are kind of like winged angels. And they are going to go right in that holy place on these gold bits. So we're going to go in here and build just 3 gold blocks with the 2 cherubim on top, and that's going to represent for us the Ark of the Covenant, the box covered in gold, decorated with those cherubim, where the laws of the 10 Commandments were kept, the laws of God's people. And just before we do the next bit, I just forgot one bit, so I've marked this bit out, and we're going to do a 3x3 and then another layer on top of it. And this is like the main altar in the middle of the courtyard, again made of acacia wood. I love the acacia wood. And on the corners, bloop, 4 bloop, horns. They kind of had 4 bits sticking out. So these are our 4 horns of the altar. And so now we're into pretty nearly our final section. Going to add all that last bit of detail. So we're going to grab these dies, the yellow banner, some paper, oxeye daisy, yellow wool. These are all to do some detailed bits with, and we also need a few different coloured banners, so red, purple and blue banners, and these are going to be our special banners which we're going to use, and I'll show you how to make those in a second. We need our crafting table as well, because we're continuing to follow with Bezalel and make these beautiful crafted bits to make this look extra beautiful. So we're going to start here in the entrance, and again we've got some more acacia poles to hold up the curtain, which is going to kind of do the entrance way. I think these ones were fastened by gold rings as well, so we'll just put these poles in. We're putting 4 poles in, just like this. Oops. And then we're going to use the wool. I'm going to alternate blocks of wool as we go down, just to kind of show these patterned curtains woven out of blue and purple and red wool, the highest craftsmanship that they could possibly manage. So this is the entrance way to the tent of meeting. So just finish this off. I'll sped this up a little bit because it takes me a while to swap between the blocks. So just finish this bit off. And then we'll just remove those bits to make an entrance way so that we can get in and out. So there's our curtain. And when we go inside again, we're just going to put some detail on this ceiling bit, because these curtains would have been decorated, and so we just want to show a bit of that decoration now. And again, they were decorated with cherubim, these winged angels. So we're going to attempt here to just put some detail blocks in so that it looks like we've kind of got a big picture of a winged creature woven in gold on the red and purple and blue yarn. So we'll just put on there. And so that's our detail on the inside. Looking good. So we're getting there in here, but just before we finish it off in here, put the finishing touches on, we're going to go out to this gate, because you can see that we haven't done anything here yet. I'm going to start by putting some yet more acacia wood poles. So we're going to just make this bit a bit taller so that it shows where it is, and leave a 2 gap, another pole, and then go on the other side, do the same thing. 2 gap and another pole. And then we're just going to fill this in with some more curtains. It's all the same colours. These are really rich colours, really expensive colours to get the dyes needed to dye the wool this colour. So this is like the richest possible colours that they could have used for this. And you can see that we left a 3 gap in the middle. That was so that we can have that small gap to enable us to get through. And we're actually just going to go through here. So for this central bit, we're just going to make something using the banners. So we're going to grab our red, purple, blue. Oh wait, that's not right. Come here. Nope. There we go. So this is just going to make something that we can walk through. So just going to plonk 3 banners, one on top of the other, just to finish off this front curtain, and we'll be able to walk through it. So it kind of creates a nice curtain entrance into the courtyard. So we're going to go right to the really detailed bit now, using these banners, which I've made earlier. Hello, Rabbit. So these are our banners with the patterns to represent the cherubim on the winged angels. And they're going to be for the inner part of the tent, the inner curtain. And so I just wanted to show you how you can make these yourself. So you're going to need a loom. Another thing I forgot. So get a loom. And if you've never used this before, it's really simple. So you're going to start with a yellow banner, because that's going to be the kind of background colour. And then the red, whatever we're using as the outside colour, that's the one you select here. And so I'm first selecting this jagged outline. And then using the red again, I'm going to go through and select the cross pattern, the X pattern. Go for that one. One more time with the red. I'm going to go through and select the round dot in the middle. And do that. And if you wanted to do this with other colours to make the blue and the purple ones, then you'd be using blue or purple instead of red. And then we're gonna need to grab a bit of paper and a daisy, and that makes a flower charge banner pattern. So we're gonna craft that and then put that into this slot here. Take our banner that we've been creating and some orange dye, and that creates this like explosion in the middle. So we're going to do the final step, because we're nearly there. Grab our red dye again, and this time we're getting the upside down triangle from the top, just there. And there you can see it has completed the banner, and that is our finished thing. So that's what we're going to be using for the inner curtain, the bit that separates the holy place from the Holy of Holies. So we're going to put these on here. It doesn't matter that it's kind of half buried, because it kind of actually looks like the curtain just goes all the way down to the floor, covers up the wood of the banners. So then I'm just alternating patterns as I go here, alternating colours, so that we get a really nice pattern of beautiful craftsmanship. This is the most detailed part for the most special place in the whole tent. And this was the you may know in the story of when Jesus is on the cross, when he breathes his last, the curtain in the temple is torn in two, and it wouldn't be the same curtain as this one, because it's a different temple. It's this place, this barrier that separates God's people from the Holy of Holies, the place where God's presence was most felt. That's what tears apart, so it allows us access through into the Holy of Holies to God. A final finishing touch now that we're going to put on in this hole I keep falling in, just going to put a campfire in there. We're going to grab our acacia wood one more time and put one block on top of it. And that's just representing the altar of incense, the final bit of furniture that was in there. And you can see like the smoke's rising. And that was kind of like representing the people's prayers rising to God in his presence. So there we have it. That's our finished tabernacle, the tent of meeting, right in the centre of the Israelites' wilderness camp, and the place where God's presence was in the middle of them.